Hey guys, Adam here with AmericanTrucks.com, and today we're taking a closer look at listening to and installing the Flowmaster FlowFX dual exhaust system with black tips with the rear exit, available for the 19 and newer 5.7 Ram 1500 with the factory dual exhaust. Now, if your truck came with the factory dual exhaust, you might be looking to swap out the boring traditional stock exhaust for one that's a lot deeper, throatier, and way more aggressive, and one that's got a lot more volume. As you just heard from our sound clips here, this guy I'm giving 4 out of 5 on our loudness meter. It's not quite the loudest of the loud, but still just a little bit more volume than some of the 3 out of 5 options out there. As you heard, this is extremely deep. Not raspy whatsoever, not high pitched, has a really deep tone throughout the entire RPM band, and it's one that gives you a little bit of drone inside the cabin, just a little bit of a hum, but nothing too overwhelming that it's gonna blow your ears out like a 5 out of 5 system. This guy's gonna definitely have a loud bark at cold start, and as it warms up from red light to red light, you can keep it pretty tamed at the lower end of the RPM band. As you start hitting wide open throttle, expect that volume to jump up, something that's going to let everybody around you know that it's aftermarket. Now, Flowmaster's FlowFX option here uses a resonator delete pipe, so it includes a little bit extra than some of the more basic catbacks in the category. Typically, you would reuse your factory resonator pipe, but in this case, you get a nice 409 stainless resonator delete that's just basically a straight pipe. You are also going to remove the resonators by the exhaust tips from your factory exhaust, so that portion is a straight pipe as well, and you're going to include the Flowmaster FlowFX muffler, which isn't necessarily a straight pipe, but very little baffling in there to help reduce any airflow restriction and give you a little bit more horsepower and torque out of that thing. With this exhaust, you can expect the entire thing to be 409 stainless steel mandrel bent tubing. The mandrel bends will reduce kinks in the airflow, and then of course the 409 being that middle of the road option. It helps keep the cost down a little bit, but still more durable than an aluminized option. If you're looking for all-out premium quality materials, check out some of the 304 stainless options in the category, but expect the price tag to be a little bit higher. You're also going to get 304 stainless muffler here, which is definitely going to boost up the quality there, and we'll take a closer look at that comparing it to stock in just a little bit. The price tag for this guy comes in just over the $600 mark. Now for the install, I'm giving it 2 out of 3 wrenches on our difficulty meter. Now, depending on your cab size and bed length combo, you may have to do a little bit of cutting to some of the pipe included in the kit. Now, because we have a crew cab with a 5'7" bed, we had to cut 9 inches off of our resonator delete pipe. If you have a crew cab and the extended bed, you have no cutting at all. You want to reference the manual included in the kit to determine how much cutting, if any at all, you have to do for your specific truck. Now, at the end of the day, the rest of the system is going to be a direct bolt-on install. I'm going to show you guys every step of the process here. It's going to take simple hand tools. Otherwise, we're going to use a table saw for the cutting here. What do you say we get started? Tools used in the install include an impact gun, a ratchet, 13 and 14 millimeter deep sockets, 14 millimeter short socket, 15 millimeter deep socket, hanger removal tools recommended, hammer, and if you need to cut, measuring tape, Sharpie, and a cutting tool. All right, first step here, we're going to remove our factory resonator pipe by removing it from the factory flange here connected to the cat pipe. Now, there are 2 15 millimeter nuts, one in this corner, one in the top right corner. Difficult to see the top right one, but I recommend using a swivel socket to get to that guy. For this, I'm using a 15 millimeter deep socket. All right, now for the top one, I'm going to pop this off, put a universal swivel socket on, and then use my 15 socket on that to hit the top right corner. Now on the other end of that pipe is another flange. There are 2 16 millimeter bolts, switching over to a 16 socket to get those off. All right, you want to have a hand on the pipe there just because it may drop down. All right, so now you're going to slide this guy down, pull it off the studs, and set it aside. First step here, we're going to grab our hanger removal tool and pop the hanger off right above our resonator on our passenger side tailpipe. The driver's side tailpipe is one piece all the way back to the muffler inlet, so we're going to attack that later. So for right now, we're going to do this, and I've lubricated it with WD-40. That makes life a little bit easier. All right, next step, grab your ratchet and your 15 millimeter deep socket, and we're going to loosen up the clamp holding the tailpipe to the rest of the exhaust assembly. All right, hanger's out of position, clamp is loosened up. Let's get this exhaust pipe off. All right, so at this point, we're gonna focus on our driver's side tailpipe. Now, like I said, it's all one piece. I have a pull jack here right behind the resonator just to give it some support once we start disconnecting things. I am gonna remove this tip, however. Removing this tip gives you another foot, maybe foot and a few inches of extra space that you don't have to worry about feeding out of the frame. So we're gonna take this guy off with a 13mm socket. Next, we can pop the hanger out of the isolator using our hanger removal tool right above that resonator. All right, so now we can disconnect the hangers right above the muffler outlet. There's one on each side. Grab your hanger removal tool and get these guys off. Now, as you can see, I have a pull jack here supporting this as well. So we have two different points of support for this exhaust. Now for this one, it's tough to get the hanger removal tool in here, so I'm gonna use my pry bar to get this guy off. All right, so next up, we're gonna focus on this flange here. Now you could bypass this and go straight back to the cat, but that's a lot of exhaust to take off in one piece, so I'm gonna separate it here. Now, once we have this taken care of, there is one more hanger to remove, but for now, grab your 16mm socket and disconnect these two bolts. All right, now when you pop this guy out of the hanger isolator, this is all gonna come loose, so you wanna be prepared for that. Before we do so, there's a ground strap here. I'm just gonna disconnect that from the factory tubing. All right, so that way it dangles here and we can reconnect it to our new exhaust later. So now we can grab our hanger removal tool and pop that guy off. All right, at this point you can pull off the exhaust from the muffler back to that driver's side tip. All right, now you can take this exhaust off. All right, so we got our factory exhaust off of our 19 Ram, and it's on the ground here next to our Flowmaster FlowFX option, and I want to go through some similarities and differences, and I want to start at the front of the vehicle. Now, at the front of the vehicle, you'll notice your factory resonator pipe is just that. It has a resonator on it extending from your headers into your muffler pipe. Now, your new option from Flowmaster here is a resonator delete pipe, which basically means it's a straight pipe. It's going to come right out of your headers, continuing straight on with no resonator, so it's not going to have any airflow restriction there, and it's going to also bump up the sound. It's not going to minimize or diminish some of the volume coming out. Going into the next pipe there, you'll have an extension pipe that'll reach over to your muffler. Now, the reason you have that is because your muffler is significantly smaller than your factory one. Your factory one's this big cylindrical shape. Your new Flowmaster is a little bit of a smaller, flattened shape here, and that guy isn't necessarily going to be a straight pipe, but it's pretty damn close. It's going to have a little bit of baffling on the inside, just to make it so it's not so obnoxious, but it's definitely going to pull through a lot more air. It's going to be a lot less restrictive than the factory muffler there, and it's going to allow for the sound you heard from our sound clip earlier on. You know, up until this point, you're working with 3-inch 409 stainless mandrel bent steel. Now, that's going to be that middle of the road option as far as quality, better than aluminized by far, but not as premium as a price tag as 304. Coming out of the muffler there, of course, it's a dual exit, so it's going to drop down to 2.5-inch tubings, dual 2.5-inch tubings, going right around your factory spare tire carrier and dumping out the rear exit like your factory one did. Now, the pipes down there are a little bit larger than your factory ones, and they're also 409 stainless mandrel bent tubing. The mandrel bents are going to help reduce any kinks in the airflow that would be caused by bent tubing. Now, the rest of that system is also a little bit different than your factory one, removing some of the mufflers or resonators by your factory tips, replacing them with straight pipes as well. And then finally, your tips coming out the rear are dual black powder-coated matte finished tips. They're 4-inch slash-cut tips, so right around the same size as your factory tips, maybe just a hair bigger, and it's got the slash-cut double-walled finish. A super aggressive, really stealthy rear end look you get from the black tips. But if you're not a fan of the black, there are more traditional options like a polished finish from Flowmaster if you're more interested in that. Now, again, the entire system here is 409 stainless with the exception of your muffler. The muffler is going to be a coated 304 stainless, and of course you want the higher quality materials at your muffler because that's not something you want rusting through. If your muffler roughs through and gets some holes in it or some surface damage to it, then it can alter the sound in a bad way. So really high quality muffler there, really good, affordable, high quality system for the rest of the kit. At this point, we want to start with the installation up with our Resonator Delete pipe, so let's get to it. First step here, now that we have all of our factory exhaust out of the way, we do have to remove the pressed-in studs on our factory cat pipe. Now this flange has these studs that are pressed in, and we got to pop them out because they're no longer long enough for our aftermarket exhaust flange. So we have aftermarket bolts that we're going to replace them with. Now what I recommend doing is taking a hammer, taking the factory nut that you took off of these guys, flip it backwards, and I'm going to thread that guy on backwards. Not all the way down, just enough so that when I hit it, it's protecting the end of the stud. When I hit it with my hammer, I'd rather flatten out the back of the nut than mushroom the back of the stud. That's going to prevent things from getting thread on. So thread that nut on backwards, take your ball peen hammer, and you're just going to give it one solid whack right on the back of the nut, and it should pop out. There we have it. So now what I'm going to do is take the other nut and do the same thing for the top stud. Again, don't thread it all the way down because you don't want to damage the back of the stud. So once you have that taken care of, take that nut off, pull the stud out. All right, next up, grab your Resonator Delete pipe. You want to make sure it's curving toward your passenger side. I'm using a pull jack here to prop the other end up just to make my life a little bit easier. Line this guy up to the flange. All right, now with one hand holding that guy on, put one of the bolts through the back end where we just pushed out the stud. Get it to hook on to the new flange. We're going to insert a flat washer. Insert a flat washer. Follow it up with a split washer. And then finally, the new nut. All right, do the same thing for the top. All right, so now we can tighten these guys down. All right, so at this point, I'm gonna grab a 14 socket and hold the stud on the back and a 14 socket to tighten it down from the front. All right, for the next step, we actually do have to cut our Resonator Delete pipe. Now, you may not, depending on your cab size and bed length. We have a crew cab with a 5'7" bed, so that requires cutting 9 inches off of the inlet side of our Resonator Delete pipe. So I've got my measuring tape here. I'm gonna go 9 inches in with my Sharpie and just mark a line right there, and then on the other side right here, just so I know that that's our 9-inch mark. So that's where we're gonna hit on the table saw. Now, if you guys have a crew cab with the extended bed, you don't need to make any modifications. And if you have a quad cab, you have to cut about 13 inches off. So you just want to consult your manual there for your proper measurement. All right, measure twice, cut once. Let's head over to the table saw. Next up, we're going to take our extension pipe that goes into the Resonator Delete. This can be a little bit tricky. You may want to slide the hanger in first, and then you have to put this guy together with the other pipe. All right, once you got that slid all the way back in, make sure the hanger's aligned properly, tighten down your clamp. All right, next step is going to be our muffler. Make sure you're putting your inlet with the single inlet toward the front of the vehicle. Tighten down that clamp. You also want to make sure the muffler is laying flat. All right, so next up, we're going to continue with that going on our passenger side first. I'm going to feed my pipe over the axle there. While we're hooking this up to the pipe, we also want to be inserting it into the hanger isolator. You may need to rotate that into position in order to make it happen. And from there, make sure it's angled properly and tighten down your clamp. All right, same thing to the other one. All right, continuing on with our driver's side, make sure we have a hanger over this pipe here, and we're going to connect it to the one that goes over our axle. All right, swing that guy up and connect it to the isolator. All right, when you tighten this guy down, you want to make sure you're pushing it away from the heat shield around the spare tire carrier. Continuing doing the same thing on our passenger side. All right, tighten down your clamp. All right, last couple of steps, let's put our tips on. So once you have that guy in place, grab a 14mm socket and wrench, or 2 sockets, and tighten it down. Repeat on the other side. All right, make sure you like the position everything's in, make sure all your clamps are tight, and you're good to go. That's gonna wrap up my review and install for the Flowmaster Flow FX dual exhaust system with black tips and the rear exit, available for the 19 and newer 5.7 Ram with the factory dual exhaust. Pick yours up right here at AmericanTrucks.com.